this presentation. Oh, there you go.
I did that. I did that.
Okay. So
Okay.
that's perfect. Perfect.
All
Perfect.
right.
I tried to start it earlier, but nothing would happen. Nothing happened. So thank you for doing that. Yes, yes, it is being recorded and we will post it on our website later today or tomorrow morning first thing. So you said you had a couple of questions. What were your other questions?
So there's only a handful of people on here, and I saw the attendee list right before, and it's like 25. So I feel horrible that, I mean, are people trying to get in right now?
They are. So I'm trying. They are, and I'm moving them over as we go.
Okay.
And so, yes, I'll just keep moving them over. And then I do have two people that emailed to ask if this was going to be recorded, and I'll just let them know that we've started and that they can still join us.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All righty. Well, then I'll leave it to you.
This is the most important question. Can you see my screen okay?
We can see your screen. It is in presenter. So we see not just your slides, but also your presenter slides.
Can you see this water rights map now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. I don't want to be in presenter mode because I have to go back and forth between a water rights map and I'm going to keep it like that. Otherwise, I'll spend half my time sorting out what I'm showing. So I'm going to keep it like this. I just want to make sure you can see that okay.
Yes, this is perfect. And I'll keep an eye on it too. And if I come back on to the webinar, you'll know that either somebody's raised their hand and has a question, or we need to fix something, some glitch that's taking place.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I'm Jay Dixon. I'm a civil engineer, and I'm a couple of years ago I was appointed to the professional engineer and land surveyor board by Governor Lombardo. And even though I live in Reno, I'm from Southern Nevada, as you can tell. And when I introduce myself at all the board meetings, because most of my work is in rural Nevada, I introduce myself as the rural Nevada representative on the board, for whatever that's worth, because there really hasn't been anybody from rural Nevada on the board that I'm aware of. And the reason this kind of came together during the most recent Nevada Water Resources Association conference in Reno. And one of the late last year, DWR started, and they sent out some notifications about a digital map submittal process. And there's a little bit of confusion about it. And at the same time, the Board of Professional Engineers and Land Surveyors had already adopted a process within the regulations for how to properly digitally sign and submit, not just any map or anything that had to be stamped. And so it's well documented. It's in the regs. Tina, I don't know if this slide deck is going to be made available, but I have hyperlinks to everything in here. So my intent was to use this as a reference that people could use if they had a question. I think I've addressed every issue that that has come up, at least for me, in this process. But if I haven't, I want you all to ask questions as we go. I don't want to get too far along without answering questions as you have them. Also, as you may be able to tell, I have a horrendous cold, so I hope I don't start hacking during this. So I'll try to mute myself to not be a distraction. But this is a giant pain, but we'll get through it. Again, I want to thank our sponsor, Spencer Fane Law Firm. This sponsorship came from my buddy Tom Driggs. He's one of the attendees here. He's he practices. Well, he does a lot of water rights work with this law firm here in Nevada, and Geo Explorer Corporation. They've done a lot of exploration work. Specifically, you can check out their website. It's hyperlinked. They've done some fascinating stuff out in Clayton Valley in Nevada. So thanks again to both of those entities. Quick outline. I'm going to talk about there was a legislative change in 2023 that allowed this to happen. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this right now, and I'm going to just touch on that. I'm going to go through some general Nevada PE and land surveyor general guidelines that this is based on, and I'll walk through with actual examples throughout the entire process how to prepare your digital stamp and signature files, digital signing and digital IDs, how to do that, what that means, and then Greta is on. Greta Gass is on online. She's had a map table at DWR, and she's been extremely helpful in helping get me prepared for this. And if I can't answer your question on this process, Greta should be able to, and I prepped her to be prepared to help me answer questions. So that's what we're going to do. Starting off with the legislative change, it was AB 34, and the main thrust of this bill last session was to make some changes to the publication process. But there was, this is supposed to be read, this is the actual bill that was passed, the part that applies here. They simply crossed out this text, Mylar, which has been in our statutes, I think, since 1903 or 1913. And there's actually still people. One of them is a person that I work with, and some of you know who that is. He will never change. He thinks we should always submit maps on Mylar. And there's always going to be people like that. But as you will see, this and DWR, this helps them be more efficient, and it just makes things so much easier. It reduces steps in terms of those guys scanning maps, and this is the way to go. And hopefully this process is continuing to evolve on DWR's end, and it's still a work in progress, but hopefully after this, you'll have a good understanding of what we need to do on our end, so that it's compliant with NAC 625. And so that's our guidelines, the Board of Professional Engineers and Land Surveyors, pertaining to stamps, seals, signatures on documents. Those guidelines are published online, obviously, through our website. And I got links to all those. And when you go to the website, this process is explained in detail. And I got a link to this right here. Just some terminology from the manual. Now, I do want to point out that the PE board has put together two examples in terms of this process, one using Adobe Pro and the other using Bluebeam. I don't know how many people use Bluebeam. I use Adobe. I think it's more common, but if you're not, and I'm not promoting one or the other. I use an old version of Adobe because it has a static license. I can't stand being a hostage to these annual subscriptions. I hate them. And the only way to get Bluebeam now is that, and same with Adobe. So I got an old version of Adobe Pro. I guess I'm kind of old school like that too, but it works just fine. And the process is exactly the same. My examples will be based on Adobe Pro. However, there is a link at the board's website to a video that explains this process using Bluebeam also. So if I haven't covered anything here, you can always refer back to the board website and get more details. The difference between what they're doing there and what I'm doing here, my instructions are specific to water right maps. Theirs are for plan sets. So just the main criteria, though, from the perspective of the Board of PE and Land Surveyors, the map must be submitted electronically as a PDF, and it must remain electronic throughout the process, not printed and scanned. PDF maps need to be flattened prior to digitally signing and transmitting. and I'm going to explain what that means and show you. It's basically training it so it doesn't have selectable layers. That's the only way to ensure you can protect that stamp and signature. The security settings for the map must be at the lowest setting allowed by the software. Again, I'll show you. You can't protect it. That's what that means, because when you submit it electronically, many agencies need to review and mark them up. Well, when you issue that signature, that digital signature, and you protect it, they can't mark it up. So that's the reason for that that specific criteria. The water rights surveyor must add their stamp image, their signature image, and the date of signing on the first page of the map if it's multiple maps. Like if you have a different map for the place of use and the point of diversion, it goes on the first page. And when you're in doubt, refer to 625, 610. So what I'm going to do now is walk through the process of actually creating a digital stamp. And there's different ways to do this. This is the method that is shown on the PE board website. And I'll just use this one as an example. So this takes me to a website that the PE board has set up, and you can export this as an SVG file, which I already have. And then I'm going to show you at just an actual demonstration what you do with that. Once you export that SVG file, you can bring it in. I just clicked and dragged it right into the document. I'm still in the presentation. Just get it to a manageable size. I'm going to deal with the size on the stamp later on, but I happen to be doing this in PowerPoint. You could do it in Word or any other software that allows graphical editing. And so you can still, if you cannot see my screen, somebody let me know, but see this up here, convert to shape, that's what you got to do. And it creates a mess. So what I do is pick a text size. That helps, and that's about right. I just said 18, and then you just go in. If you want it, you need to have it centered. So pull it on both ends over to the edge. The best way to ensure it's centered. My expiration happens to be 12/31/26. Again, we need everything centered in that seal. Pull it to the right, pull it to the left. Now we got it centered. For some reason, this, I don't know what's going on with this. Every time I do it, it has the L separate, and I don't know why. But that's an easy fix. Again, we want it centered. And there's one, the other stamp is for a PLS. Many water rights surveyors are either civil engineers or land surveyors, so there's one of each. I'm just working on the civil. It's the same process. And then last but not least, you got to change each one of these to your number. I'm not gonna do the rest of it, but once you get that, the next step is to just take a snip of it as an image. There we go, and you save it. And I've already saved it here. Second. Here's what that looks like once you get it done. Now, I'll pause there to ask if there's any questions at this point before I go to the next step of making it transparent. Okay. So the next step was by far the hardest step for me. And if you look at the video, so the RP board put together a video and it's on YouTube, and I have a link to it. And they, like I said, they show how to do this with Adobe and Bluebeam. But they for the Adobe demonstration, they skipped an important step. I was not aware how to make a signature transparent. And maybe I'm a dinosaur. I don't know, but it was a nightmare. So I create this process is I put this together. I had to find third-party software that didn't have some kind of restriction on it, that it couldn't be, you couldn't use it. It transforms the image into a transparent background. Well, you can't just do that for commercial purposes unless their terms and conditions allow it. Well, I found one that did, and I'm going to walk through that process, because when same with the stamp, I was just talking about the stamp. You got to do the same thing with your signature. It has to have a transparent background. So I'm going to show you how to do that with this software. So the link takes you to this LunaPic. And there's probably a million other ways to do this. This was the best one that I found. And maybe there's software where you can do it locally on your hard drive, maybe. But I gave up.
Hey, Jay, can I ask you a quick question real fast?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are two things that were typed in. And Claire Evans says that she uses whichever the corporation gives her. Bluebeam is right now. Greta is asking, do you have to start from a digital file for the stamp, or could you save a scanned image of your physical stamp?
I'm sorry, can I just jump in real quick?
Yeah.
I appreciate this and probably will do something. I just also want people to know that if you don't want to do all this, you can pay $17 and just have it sent to you.
I was aware of that.
Okay.
Yes.
I figured
Sorry.
you probably knew, but just so
Yeah.
everyone else knows, that's what I did.
Based on how much time I wasted preparing myself for this, I would pay the $17 and have it sent to me. Absolutely. That's a very good point. But if you want to do it yourself, this is an option. So what you do, you remove the background, apply, and then you save it. Okay, so I've already done that. And then you have your signature. So here's what it looks like. See, it's gray in the back. That white has been removed. So that's what you got to have. And it's the same thing with the stamp. You can do the same thing with the stamp or just have it sent to you. Okay. Hey, Tina, I want to make sure I see, is it Q&A when people ask questions? I've been looking for that, and I want to make sure I address them as they come up.
Yep, so if you just hover at the bottom of your screen, it'll have a Q&A and a chat option, and then it has a little notification. Right now, it currently says 2 on mine, and Greta Gaddis has asked, do you have to start from the digital file for the stamp, or could you save a scanned image of your physical stamp? So if you look down at the very bottom, you should see
I
that
see
it's
it. I see it.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect. So
I
those are
got
the
it.
2. Okay.
So Greta, did we answer your question? You could do either way. And I'm going to actually show this, bringing it into a water rights map, this process, once you get everything transparent. So I want to go through that whole process right now of making it transparent, and then we'll bring it into a map. And then Claire asked, she made a comment about Bluebeam. So I saw one of my fellow board members showed me Bluebeam. It's amazing. It was, I think it was made for engineers and surveyors. It's made for drawings and checking things, and it's amazing. It's probably better than Adobe for this type of thing, but I got an old version of Adobe that has a static license, and it's hard to give that up. Okay. I'm gonna again, I'm gonna go through a demonstration of this, but I want to start with what it's supposed to look like when you're done. So there's 2 ways to do this, and this is a place where there's common confusion. There's 3 elements to this. So there's the stamp, the seal actually, and it has to have this information in it. You also have to have the date that it was signed or stamped. And then there's 2 options for applying the digital signature and certificate. If you have your actual digital signature part of this element right here, you do not need to sign through the stamp. If you sign through the stamp, then you can just have your name as part of the digital certificate. I'll show this later, but those are the 2 ways to do this, and this is talked about in more detail in the PE board guidelines. Let me show you. Sorry, right here. This is what the PE board puts out. This is the latest, and they talk about this, the 2 ways to apply your stamp and digital signature. This is what I was talking about. All right. So we've talked about creating the digital stamp, creating the digital signature with the transparent background. You got to add the box for the current date, flatten it. I'm gonna explain that process, printing the PDF, and then this whole digital ID component, which is very important. So I'll bring up an example. All right. So this is an example water rights map. It's one of my maps. And you can see the reason I have a box here, and the reason I have this box here is because the stamp is supposed to be 1.7 inches. That's what the actual regulations say. So I'm going to measure this just to make sure. .72. So that's good. It doesn't have to be precise. It's 1.7. So the first step in the process is, as you can see, I'm using Adobe. And those of you who are using a more modern version of Adobe, it looks much different. This is from 2010, actually. Adobe X, I think it was. And but it's the same. It's got the same components in it. This part of it is exactly the same. This looks a little different. So what we want to do is bring in a signature. So let's just pretend we're creating one from scratch. So I'll create a custom stamp. Right. So it would come up in my pre-saved directory. I guess it didn't. All right. So I saved my images as PNGs. So I want to bring in, the first thing I want to do is bring in the stamp. So I've converted it to transparent stamp. See, it has the gray in the background. Save it as dynamic. This doesn't matter. Just if you save it in the category dynamic, it'll be available in there. You can save specific stamps here, and I'll just call it new stamp. Then you go to dynamic. There it is. I just saved multiple. And the reason I put that box in there, so I've already pre-measured it, it's 1.7. So you can get your stamp down to the right size. And that box kind of gives me it helps me get it in there so that everything, make sure you resize it based on pulling the corner. Everything's relative. Get it inside the box and then create a text box for the date that you're putting the stamp on. And then next is the digital signature. And we can go through the same process of creating a stamp, but I already have my signature saved. And remember I said there were 2 ways to apply the digital signature. I'm going to use the option where I'm putting it, and this is why you got to have it transparent. So, and then once you get you can put it right across the top like that. It doesn't matter where it is within the stamp. It could be at the top or the bottom. All right, just a second here. Bear with me a second. Okay. So the next step is really important, and that's flattening it. So the reason you have to flatten it is because you've got to, if you don't flatten it and you can select the layers in here, you can alter someone's signature and their seal. That cannot happen. So the best way, there's multiple ways to do it. The best way is to just print it to a PDF. You see it's 24 by 36. Print it as a PDF. And I'm not gonna do that because it takes a little time. So I'm going to open up one that's already been printed. You can see previously, before I had flattened it, I could select the stamp. See this? I can't select the stamp. It's not a separate layer. Nothing here is selectable. So that's what flattening means, and it's very important. All right. Okay, so the next step is to actually place your digital certificate onto this is not official until you finish this last step, which is the digital ID. So for that, again, this is an old version of Adobe, so but it's the same process. Find document. And we'll put it right here on the signature line. And let's just create a new ID. Because the first time you do this, you're going to have to create a new ID. So I want it to be, create a new one. And I want it to be a digital ID file. I don't know what this Windows certificate store means, but this is what the PE board video said to do. So I'll just call this NWRA, so I know which one it is. Put the company name. You got to have your email address. You got to password protect it. You see where it's saved. See this file, Jay Dixon NWRA PFX. So finish it, and you can see what it gives the date. There's more information you put in there, like the place, but this is the minimum amount of information that has to be on there, and it won't apply it until I put in the password. And now we save it as the signed version. And notice that I didn't select the box. I didn't put a check in the box to protect it. Never do that. That's what I meant when I said minimum level of security. So this is not protected. So people can open this and add comments. They can't make changes, but they can add comments. And again, it's already flattened. So now we'll save it as the signed version. See up here, it says signed and all signatures are valid. Let me zoom in a little bit. You can see what's in there. It's a little small. Sorry about that. I could keep zooming in, but this map is now ready to submit to DWR. So before I go through that process, are there any questions? Okay, I don't see any. So keep going. All right. So I just put a reference here to the most recent, correct me if I'm wrong, Greta, but I believe the most recent published version of water right map guidelines and rules is from 2019.
Yes, that's correct, although we are planning to do a new one in 2025, so.
That's what I was hoping you'd say. I've talked to you about this, and so we should expect. And the nice thing about this link that I put in here, it says 2019, and maybe I'll just take it off. Where that takes you to their website is here, and I'm assuming, well, it will get replaced with the new version. You can see it says 2019. So this will happen automatically with the same link. There is also, at that same place in DWR's website, and this image is hyperlinked, it's a brief 2-page document that goes through some of these processes that I'm going to cover now. And this image is hyperlinked if you want more information. A lot of the same stuff I've talked about. This must be certificate-based encryption that includes metadata. That's that file that you saw that was created when I created that digital ID. I got a question for Greta when we get to the end about this right here. We'll come back to that. So the map must be digitally notarized by an e-notary registered in the Secretary of State, or and I think this is what most people do, you got to have this statement in here. I declare under penalty of perjury that foregoing information is true and correct. And that's the same thing that DWR puts in their guidelines. Okay, so there are two ways to submit digital maps to DWR. One way is not available yet, and I'm going to ask Greta to talk more about what she expects to happen with option number one. Right now, through the forms location within DWR's website, this is where most people are probably familiar with this, because this is where you go to submit extensions of time online and proof. That's eventually, my understanding is they want to be, this will be an option for submitting maps online. Until then, though, it's by email. And this is the address that's on DWR's document. So this document also provides information that should be included when our maps are submitted by email, what goes in the subject line, whether it's an original or amended map, permit number, or the cultural maps. Now, if it's not a map that has a permit number yet, well, I'll come back to that, but you got to also note how many new filings, applications, or proofs the map is supporting, and the numbers if available. So any form requiring a signature, which is not yet available on the electronic forms portal, must still be received as a hard copy with an ink signature. Emailed forms will be rejected. So right now we can't submit applications, and I hope ultimately we can get to the point where we could submit applications and maps together within the same general process, but that's not an option yet. As noted here, if you submit, you could digitally sign application, but it's not going to be, it will be rejected, right? Is that correct? That's correct, right, Greta?
Yes, at the moment, we're not accepting any digital signatures for applications unless it's the proof of appropriation, which is on the online forms website. So as soon as the rest of the application forms are on that portal, then we can do them all electronically.
Okay. There is also for amended maps submitted via email following a return correction. So this is additional piece of information when you're resubmitting a return for correction map. Also, there's a link to this document. So this is the current guidelines provided by DWR. So this is all summarized in this slide deck. And then a few additional considerations that I got from Greta. She noted that they are trying to increase digital map submittals. Like I said at the beginning, it helps, it reduces their workload. As many of you have probably noticed, they're scanning maps and they're scanning them high resolution and in color. This is my personal opinion. I wish they would scan them black and white. It's kind of for printing purposes, but I like the old black and white scans. Maybe scanning them in color is better for some of the older ones. I don't know. I also know it's taking up a lot of room on their servers. And then Greta is Map Table, and I got her contact information here. She did note that she has and is willing to do a review of just the digital signature stamp in compliance with NAC 625. It's not a review of map content. That's why I put her email there. So especially first time you're doing this, if you want Greta to take a look at the map and the application, your signature stamp and compliance with 625, you could email her and she'll just give you feedback on only those components. Greta also noted this this, I told you, I want to touch on this trusted certificate issue. So this is a screenshot of what she sees on her end. And I know I've seen it too when I go back and look at my own. It says the document has not been modified since the signature was applied. That's all that matters. As long as it has that statement, this, and this notation on the certificate when she looks at the map that's had it applied, it's good to go. So she has no way to verify the identity, but again, they're protected by this. So I just want to bring this up. Greta and I have talked about this. Maybe there's a way for water rights surveyors to submit that file, that certificate file, so that it's stored at DWR. So she can, when she sees a water rights surveyor digitally signed map, that it'll pull up that certificate. And I don't know, I don't think that's required, but it's something we've talked about. Do you have any other commentary on that, Greta?
Sure, yeah, it's something that we've talked about internally as well, whether there'd be some way to do a list of trusted certificates. So ultimately what that signer's identity is unknown because it's not been included in your list of trusted certificates. What that is that's Adobe saying that it has not, checked your driver's license to make sure that you're the person you say you are when you're putting your name in. And so this is Adobe's disclaimer that it is not confirming identity. So we've talked about whether we could do a list of trusted certificates, but ultimately we would then have to be doing that same thing if people were sending things in, actually checking their identity. And so whether or not our division, I guess, wants to handle that is something still up in the air, because we've really been relying on that penalty of perjury statement and the individual water rights surveyor's responsibility to protect their own electronic stamp and signature and everything like that.
Yeah, so as long as it's done like this, everything's flattened, you got that perjury statement up there, you don't need to submit the certificate with it for now. Any other questions? This is all I had for material. So if you have any questions, fire away.
I do want to mention just real quick, Jay, since you brought up the online forms portal and submitting things together, that actually for proof of appropriation forms, how it works right now, if you're doing that as an online submittal, is you fill out the form through our portal, and then after you hit submit on that first page, it will ask you if you have any attachments, and that is where you would attach the map directly to that submittal. So we get them all as one package with the proof and the map. And so once application form's on there, it will be the same process where it's an attachment to the submittal itself.
Oh, interesting. So I haven't submitted a proof like this yet. I don't know if anybody else has. This is what you're talking about right here. You can see my screen, right, Greta?
Yes.
So you're saying, I can see similar to the EOT, online EOT, when you get to the end and you have this ready to go, you could submit a map with the proof.
Yes, if you get to the end and you hit save and continue, which if you try to do it right now on your screen, it's probably going to tell you you haven't filled out all these boxes. But after that, the next page is asking if you have any attachments to upload. So.
Oh, so it's just like adding an attachment to an extension of time form. In this case, it would be a map.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Greta, is there anything else that I missed or that you wanted to expand on?
Not at this point, unless anybody's got any questions.
Hi, Claire again. I do have one. It's slightly tangential of a question, but I've done a couple of these, and there's at least one of them where I ended up emailing in a digital map and mailing in a form, and then my client mailed in the check from somewhere else entirely outside Elko, and I'm wondering if there's anything to do to make sure that y'all can find those things and put them together easily, or if there's something else.
Claire, let me make sure I understand it. So you submitted the map via email, right?
Yeah,
And you mailed in the application, a water right application?
yeah. And then the third thing, because I just want to make sure they all get to the same place, because with the new application, obviously we don't have an application number. So yeah, so I submitted the map online and mailed in the application myself from my office in Reno. And then the application fee check got mailed in from
Oh.
Elko. So then now instead of like 2 places, we're coming from 3 places. And I think it was, who was it that called me? I think it was Zach who called me about it and was confirming where the check would be coming from. And he was referencing a permit number, which I didn't have a permit number yet. So it's just, I don't know. I think I'm a little bit scattered and I want to make things easier for everyone.
Absolutely, and I think that, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I think that's
Greta, this is a question I have too.
Mhm.
So I don't know whether it's a preference to have the application first or the map. I would think the application first, so you got a number, and then when the map shows up, can you walk through how this happens?
Yeah, so I would actually recommend the opposite, trying to send in the map first so that we don't start reviewing the
Oh.
application, realize there's no map, and then send it back for correction.
Okay.
So if you're sending them in separately, if you're doing the digital map submittal before it's all available on the online forms portal, yeah, please try to, I guess, send in the map first. And then send in the application afterwards. And if your payment is coming separately from the application, the best thing for our office is just the most information you can give us. If you're like, put in a cover letter with the application, put in a cover letter with the payment, saying that, you know, this has already come in from whatever party mailed in the original, or we're waiting on something from a different party. Make sure that all of them have the applicant name at a minimum and what sort of form it's accompanying so that we can try to connect the dots once it all gets into our office. And yes, if we receive the application and the map and we're still waiting for payment, generally somebody from our office, such as Zach, would be reaching out to ask about that payment because it's not filed in our office until we receive that.
Okay, thanks, Greta.
That really helps. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I would do the application first, but that makes total sense what you're saying. Put the map in first so it doesn't get hung up when they look at the application and there's no map. So that's good. Thank you.
And even for the map, since you're emailing that over, if you happen to know when the application gets mailed in, or even if you drop it off and get that application number shared with you, if you send a follow-up email, just like a reply to your original email saying that the application has been submitted, that helps us as well.
Okay, good. All right, any other questions?
Annie.
Okay.
All right.
So,
well, if any questions do come up though, after you end this call, you are more than welcome to email them in to either Jay or I. If I receive them, Jay, I'll just forward them on to you and then you can just respond to whoever it is that may have a question. Does it sound okay?
yeah, Tina, so since I am apparently controlling the recording, I'll stop it. And then what happens? Because that question was asked, and I think a few people missed this because of the technical problems with Zoom. Are you going to make it available online or something? What do you think?
I am. It will be posted on our YouTube channel, on NWRA's YouTube channel, which can be accessed through our website. And then your slides, if you can send those to me, please, I will I will convert it to PDF and post it on our website on PDF.
Okay,
Um,
perfect.
okay, so send that to me, and then it looks like Alex, you just joined us, and I'm wondering if you might have any questions before we end. Let me just see here, we have someone just joined us. So thank you everyone for joining us today. If you have any questions, like I said, please just go ahead and send them to our email for NWRA or to Jay directly. That would work. Either way works great. Thank you again to GeoExplorer and Spencer Fain for sponsoring all of our webinars for 2025. We sure do appreciate you. And at the conclusion of this webinar, you will receive an email, a follow-up email from the webinar with a thank you for joining us today, an evaluation survey, and encouragement to complete and return that to us, and a certificate of attendance. So if you have any questions about any of those and the credits that we talked about at the beginning of the call, just let me know. And other than that, I hope you all have a really great day.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.